much of what you covered is in Howard Zinn's People's History of America. Why aren't you using that as a text here?
Well, I mean, I like Howard Zinn's text. I use Tyndall and She. But in particular, I think this information you get best using smaller articles or smaller readings to really dig down on it. I will be honest with you, the majority of students don't read the text.
But like John Brown, you brought up John Brown, and his speech after he's convicted, he says, if I had done this for the wealthiest of the people in here, I would be a hero. And it would be very evident what the situation was. But because I did it for the lowliest, I'm going to be hanged.
Well, and Nat Turner, if you look at the commemoration of his rebellion, back when the author was writing in the 70s, there's a little small marker that says, here Nat Turner led a rebellion that killed 50 white people, or 55 or something like that, right? These are the kind of things we want to get students to pay attention to and hopefully draw contemporary parallels to it. I mean, the bigger issue is, can they then take this in the classroom and then start noticing it when they read the paper? I mean, I think people who are versed in this can pick up the paper and find article after article of examples of this, but that takes a little bit of experience to do, I think.
I had a question from a student perspective, touching on the elite public transcripts. And like he said, referencing it to like what's happening today, and I'm tired of saying his name, so I'll refer to him as the current GOP frontrunner. But what happens when, and I do mean this, I try not to be too humorous with this question, but what happens when that is flipped? Because when Romney was found out about the 47%, he was embarrassed, his campaign was embarrassed, it was a scandal, but he was embarrassed, and I can't remember if he verbally apologized or not, but it was realized that it was a mistake. So the same thing happens again in a far greater way with the current GOP frontrunner. He says this, it's the scandal, and then it's backed up and said, no, this is just who I am, this is my statement. And if that had gone away a month into it, I have no question. The problem is he's still first or second in there. So what happens when that script is flipped and suddenly the gracious, benevolent speech no longer matters?
So in other words, he's openly acknowledging that these hidden transcripts are there, and he's not apologetic for them.
Does that set a precedent?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting, though. I mean, so far it looks like he's come out unscathed, but if I had to bet, I think this will come back. If he is the nominee, it will seriously come back to. But
I'm sorry, I don't mean this. I'm so sorry. I think I phrased that wrong. Not with him specifically, but with politics. How does that, for the next election cycle, when it's somebody who isn't a celebrity who can say what he wants to say, but is just a regular politician, does he or she then feel like they have more leeway with what they can say thanks to the precedent?
Are you talking about this thing where I am who I am? They were telling Ben Carson to kind of tone it down a little bit, and he said, oh, and then they realized it was working, so they let Ben be Ben?
I do put that in a separate category because he still is saying, I am who I am, but I'm still a benevolent guy who's going to look out for you. Donald Trump, with certain instances, is not saying that. He's saying this is for what I think is best, not for what I think is going to help everybody.
Yeah, right. He came out and said,
like
look, I give money to whoever I want. Because I give money, why? Because they pay attention to me. Yeah, you're right. He is kind of exposing that. And the kind of the old guard Republican doesn't like that.
They're like, shut up, dude, shut up. Quit it.
And what was that lunch they were talking? I was teaching actually, but I didn't make it for the lunch talk. But they talked about how the elite really don't like to talk about what they're doing, right? They don't like to expose those hidden truths. So Donald Trump is a bit of an anomaly in that way, right?
Yeah.
We don't know for the
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Elite colleges get a lot of money to teach them how to oppress.
Right.
So teaching can go the other direction too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't have an answer. It's a very interesting observation.
It's just time will.
Yeah, time will tell if that strategy works for him.
Has something on a smaller scale happened, since you are the expert in history, has that happened in American politics before in the public transcript?
So yes, let's just say elites have long been very more blunt than they have been in the 20th century. They used to be
Sure.
very, I mean, if you read the Founding Fathers, if you read what Alexander Hamilton said about why, he wanted to create some certain things in the Constitution, it was because like they recognized, so in a way, they were very blunt, more blunt than they are today. But since the 20th century, we've created this political stability of sorts based on the growing middle class, and they have to be more careful about that.
Tyranny of
because-
the majority.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no
mean, the
kidding.
Founding Fathers were pretty open and blunt about what they wanted, what they were trying to do.
Different needs at the time, so, like, they were trying to set up the Constitution, especially in the context of slavery. Like,
Yeah,
everybody had different ideas
So which
then.
one is it? This one?
But now it's like almost seems like a farce.
It's teaching
Well,
the
and-
civic.
Yeah, and it is so
Okay.
much harder, I think, to get people to
Education,
recognize, it's not hard to get students to recognize slavery as being oppressive and being bad. But it is harder to get them to recognize these subtler forms
It's
of
hard to
oppression.
fathom that much money and how that much money works in like not only an economic system but a political system, because none of us can fathom having that much money and like how it circulates in those like fashions, whether it's to buy influence or to
I'm
like
gonna go to court.
essentially buy their power.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
I've been teaching 25 years, and I've never heard a male raise his hand saying, this might be a stupid question, but, and have you had this experience? Because it's actually, there's been a study on it, that women